New details in the murder of a 96-year-old McAllen man. Investigators believe the motive was greed.
Detail Action 4's Ashley Custer. The suspects were trying to acquire the victim's assets.
On January 28th, 96-year-old Martin Neal was found dead inside his home by his caretaker. He was slumped over and not breathing. At that time, no autopsy was ordered as it appeared Neal died of natural causes.
In February of 2015, the caretaker met with the Texas Rangers to report that Mr. Neal was murdered and that she had previously lied to the authorities out of fear for her safety.
The caretaker told investigators that her employer, Monica Melissa Patterson, had been in a dispute with Neal over his will.
The caretaker also informed investigators that Patterson and another male, later identified as Angel Mario Garza, arrived at Mr. Neal's home on January 28th and instructed her to wait outside the home. Patterson told the caretaker to wait 30 to 45 minutes and then call 911 and report to them that Mr. Neal was at the house and he was sick.
The criminal complaint states that on January 28th, while the caretaker was outside, she witnessed a man known as Mario put on medical gloves and walk into the home. The caretaker then allegedly heard Patterson tell Mario, quote, "Do what you have to do," end quote. Documents state that Neal died from suffocation. Patterson was charged with capital murder and Garza with murder.
But I think the allegation is that she may have been a benefactor to some estate that he may have left. I think that's why she's a suspect in this deal, and that's why she's been charged.
This is a copy of the will at the center of this murder investigation. It was executed on December 22nd, 2014, about 1 month before Neal's murder. Neal's son, Martin Neal Jr., filed a claim for relief against Patterson in April, claiming that the will is not valid due to his father's state of mind. The documents say that at age 92, Neal was diagnosed with cancer, and by late 2012, he began showing signs of confusion and marked changes in personality and irrational behavior, adding that it only continued to get worse over time. In September 2014, Neal's wife was hospitalized, and when she was to be released, hospital staff, including one doctor, expressed concern that Neal was no longer competent to care for her. Neal's wife was admitted to the Comfort House. However, Patterson, who was at the time the executive director, did not allow Neal access to his wife due to his behavior. In fact, the documents state that Patterson urged Neal Jr. to get a restraining order to prevent Neal access to his wife. It also adds that, quote, at the time, Patterson was not aware of the size of Neal's estate. However, in the weeks that followed, the claim states that, quote, Patterson became aware of Neal's significant assets. She knew Neal reportedly had more than $1 million and had asked Neal to give all of his assets to her, end quote. When Neal's wife died, the documents read that Patterson showed increasing and unusual interest and even prevented neighbors from visiting Neal, adding that she involved herself in his personal affairs to the point that he was dependent upon her. In the end, a new will was prepared, leaving the vast majority of Neal's assets to Patterson, even though he had only known her for 90 days.
It's not uncommon. It wouldn't be the first time that anyone who is of that age who would leave his estate or the bulk of his estate to someone that is non-related.
However, Salinas says everything is very preliminary and he has not had much of a chance to consult with his client. Ashley Custer, Action 4 News.
And Salinas is hoping to reduce Patterson's $1 million bond. He says his client is not a flight risk and has no previous criminal history.